Hey guys, Jay Johnson here, Transgender Support, wanting to take advantage of a beautiful Friday sunny afternoon to share with you. Also wear some yellow to give a positive vibe, even if you probably won't be seeing this on a Friday, depending on when I post it. Anything we can do, I talk about the last couple weeks have been rough. So I find that when I'm having a difficult time, one of two things is true for me. I either want to go sort of away from everybody. Maybe that's my Cancerian shell, because I'm a Cancer. Or I want to see what I can do or consider what I can do to try to go the other direction and try to spread something positive or something helpful for other people so that at least there's one less person who's in a funk. Because I know that I am. I don't want you to be too. So here we go. Today's topic, I wanted to continue the last topic, which was counseling and letters, right? And today I want to talk a little bit more about the counseling itself, because last time the point of the conversation was to figure out how you can use the counseling in an advantageous way, but to ultimately get those letters that you'll need, which is a very important thing. But I realized after I made it, I didn't talk about very much the counseling itself. And as I talked about last time, the fact is the process is what the process is, right? And we know that this therapy, this counseling, in order to get these letters is a requirement. So I say, why not help each other to figure out, well, how can we use these situations to the best of our ability and take advantage of what we have to go through anyway, right? I know, like I said last time, it might feel sometimes almost hyper mandated that we have to do it, but it is what it is. And there are times when we can find a benefit from that. So I'll talk about my own experience. Again, I always want to recognize that not everyone has the best experience through various parts of their journey. That's also true for me. And when I get to those parts, I will hope that I'm very open and honest with you guys about how it wasn't the easiest experience. But for the therapy part, I'm happy to say it was quite positive. Now, what did I do? Remember last time I talked about whenever you're going to go ahead and start on the therapy journey, which will be required, the counseling journey, make sure to spend the time. Do you feel like the person with whom you're matched or that you found is somebody that beyond their credentials you trust and you feel like it's a safe space? The most critical and crucial thing, it has to be a safe space. Once you have that, and I recognize for some people in general, they're just not as big on the idea or the notion of therapy. I've always been open to it, so I didn't have that hurdle. It was more about, okay, I'm okay with the idea of therapy. Let's find the right match. Once I found someone who I thought was good, this was my first therapist, what I really liked was I quickly started changing my approach from this is somebody I have to talk to so many times in order to get this letter to, well, this is somebody who I've vetted and I believe I can trust and I feel safe with. And now every time we meet, this is an opportunity for me to kind of practice saying things and practice reflecting on saying things, specifically about my transgender experience and my journey, about my gender dysphoria. Not always directly about that. Sometimes it would just be talking about what's going on in life. But the whole time we were talking, there would be this sort of superstructure of the conversation, which we both knew, there was no question, I'm here as a person telling you I identify rather as a trans woman, and we both know that there's no tricks, there's no secrets. Now we can have an open conversation about anything for this hour, right? And I love that. I really liked having that because even if you're somebody like me, honestly, in social situations, you feel pretty open to talk about things. You're not a shy person. I'm not really at all. But even for me, and even for those like me, oftentimes when you start having to say the words, or for many of us, it's the second coming out, right? Because maybe you identified as homosexual or something like that earlier on before you knew the difference between gender identity and sexual orientation, like I talked about in a previous video. It's difficult to sometimes find the confidence to have these chats and just to talk about whatever's on your mind. So when I found and felt like this person, this therapist I was working with, is somebody who's really on my side and is listening to me, I found that as such a useful tool early on in my journey. And examples would be interesting because she might even say to me, like, okay, Jade, well, how are you doing? And as somebody who studied linguistics and as an American, I know that's kind of a funny question we have, because how often do we throw that out throughout the day? We don't want an answer, or we don't want the real answer. It's just you have to say it. But with her, she would ask and it would sort of be waiting. Like, she wanted to know, how am I doing? And I said, well, oh my goodness, how much time you got? There's so much going on. And she, her response was, well, tell me what it is. I'm here to listen to you. And I found that so wonderful when I was dealing with the stresses of work and the stresses of, at the time, figuring out how to come out to my family a second time, because I hadn't done that yet, the stresses of what I was going through with my relationship at the time, to have somebody who just says, listen, I know what seems like the biggest weight in the world right now, which is you wanting to tell the world that you're a transgender. It feels tough, but I'm telling you from the beginning of this hour, Jade, I already know that, and we're good, we're cool. So whatever you want to talk about, let's discover that. And I love that. Talking through things, having her provide me guidance on, maybe how to navigate and consider feelings and things I was going through. I really enjoyed all of those things. That was very positive for me. Now, I do want to always try to remember to be responsible about things I say, and compare and contrast, or make sure I don't draw false conclusions from people. And what I just said about, having them provide you useful tools or helping you navigate, that's what you want. What you don't want is somebody who's you feel like they're pushing their agenda, or not hearing what you're saying, or not allowing you to work through a lot of the steps yourself, so that you, when you leave that session, because at the end of the day, it's you, right? It's how you identify, it's what you know. You want to make sure that you don't have someone who's just pushing something onto you, because for most of us, that's what we've had our whole lives, right? Whether it's conscious or subconscious, people telling us, no, what you really think or what you really should be feeling, you don't want that. But if, again, I can't stress enough, if you've confirmed it's a safe space and you feel like they're hearing you and they're just wanting to help provide tools to guide your thought, as you then take those tools to continue the work and say, well, where does this leave me? What does this mean for my next steps? Do you remember the last video? I talked about taking a step and then checking in, taking a step and then checking in. That can be at the micro level. Even, it doesn't just have to be from the decision to do counseling to the decision to do hormones to the decision to do surgery or not. It's micro, taking each micro step. Okay, I decided to reach out to a therapist and say, I'm a transgender person and I need to talk to you. You'll say it differently, but the point is, how did that make me feel? Was it scary? Sure. But saying it to somebody and having them recognize, yes, I'll talk to you about what you're going through, that felt great to me. And I said, okay, well, that means maybe more to come. Having that first session and saying it again out loud is like, yes, I've known this forever. I know that I've always felt like a woman. I identify as a trans woman. And thank you for hearing me. And her responding in a way that helped me feel heard and listened to. For me, the next step was, okay, that was great, but do I go back the next week? Do I feel comfortable enough to continue this practice? And again, for me, the answer was yes. But I was always taking the time to check in with myself. So that's very important. Just so you guys know, when you're in the sessions, and I've had some who are licensed therapists who have been very helpful with making sure that, lingo and terminology is correct. So I appreciate that. So please feel free to make sure that I'm saying this the right way. But really what the people with whom you're speaking, the therapist, a lot of the stuff they're going to be looking for is that, any decisions you are starting to think about or that you've already believe you made up your mind on, that you have come to those decisions without some sort of negative or disproportionate, sort of undue influence. The decisions are your own, and that you came to it in a healthy state of mind, and that in the course of doing that, you continue and will continue to take care of yourself mentally, emotionally, physically. Those are the things they are really trying to look for. And so for someone like me, I said, no, I'm loving my life. I love trying to grow as much as I can, but I have concerns and I have this big thing that I feel like I need to talk to people about because it's been inside me too long. And in order to be my most authentic self, I need you guys to hear my voice now. And this is me starting to do that. That was the method that I took, and it worked out very positively for me. But again, you will find in your journey the person that you feel is a safe space and that can help you through those chats and hopefully help you get to that place where you say, you know what? I'm going to look at this. I'm going to take that next step. I'm going to check in. And when I do that, and when I check in with myself, I feel good. And I want to take that next step. Always give yourself time to think about it and figure out what's best for you. Figure out what's authentic for you. All that is to say, I realize the therapy thing can be scary. It can be frustrating, but it can also be positive. It's part of the process, something we all have to go through as part of the process to start any sort of transition. So try to embrace it. Take the time to make sure you're doing it the right way, never rush, and see what positive you can get out of it. Because in the end, it's going to make your whole journey, everything that follows, all that much better. So I hope that was helpful, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Signing off.